never forget that day. That was definitely our most challenging chapter, though.
You put love in front and center while I was trying to be right the whole time.
We're not going to work because of this.
Do we just break up?
That was never happening in my mind.
Or do we fight for our love together? I wouldn't have been able to grow through those moments without someone as grounded and convicted as you. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the Yahya Show. Welcome. You are now watching the Yahya Show. If this is your first time here, allow me to introduce myself. I'm your host, Yahya Bakkar, and today is the first episode of the Yahya Show. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't want to call it the Yahya Show, but we did a vote with families and friends, and they all said Yahya because of the meaning of your name. And for those of you who don't know, Yahya has different meanings in different languages. The actual pronunciation of Yahya is Yahya, which is in the Arabic language, and it means to come alive. So the purpose of the show is to help you come alive in every area of your life. It doesn't matter whether it's your relationship life, it doesn't matter whether it's your business, it doesn't matter whether it's your spirituality. My goal is to be used as an instrument to breathe life into every situation, to help you come alive. And so I'm very, very excited. And if I'm being completely transparent, I'm a little nervous today, especially because my first guest is someone very near and dear to me. She is the rock of my life. I've known her for over 21 years at the time of this recording. She is the mother of my beautiful children. And I won't ruin the details of the whole story and keep it a little mystery, but I'll just say there is no Yahya without her, and that is the truth. And I want to make sure everyone for the record knows that Yahya wouldn't be half the man he is today if it wasn't for this person that you're going to hear today. And this person is none other than the First Lady, the Mrs. Bakkar, Kate Bakkar. How you doing, baby?
Great, babe. Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
We're here.
I'm nervous. I'm actually genuinely nervous.
You should be. I'm just kidding.
Because this is 21 years in the making.
Yeah.
21 years in the making. And
yeah.
for those who are tuning in for the first time, they're thinking 21 years, like when did we meet? So can you give a little about some background about how we first met?
Way back.
How back do we go?
We go way back. You want to tell the story of how we met?
No, this is all you.
Okay, so flashback 2003. 14-year-old girl. I actually was going over this in my head, trying to get the exact detail. I believe my cousin shared an email with me, which included a plethora of photos of a young, handsome kid with spiky hair. Yep.
I'm gonna try to get that photo.
And again, I don't really know the genesis of where that how she got into that email or who sent that to her, but I was looking for a guy, and apparently you were looking for a girl.
Yep.
And then we had some mutual friends, and again, I don't even understand how that worked out because your friend was older than you by a few years.
Yeah.
And I believe it was my friend's sister who knew him, and we just set it up that we were gonna meet on a blind date.
It was a blind date. I was 15, you were 14.
14. And I'll never forget that day. We rolled up to the ice cream shop in town, and I distinctly remember it was the moment that my friend had actually gone into the back. I guess she had to go to the restroom or something, and I saw you walk up, and I was like, oh my God, that's the guy from the picture. That's him. And you were you were too, I don't know what, but you were already like so prepared and so
it's called
smooth.
Godfidence.
No.
Godfidence.
But you found a way to quickly sweep me away, literally, from my friends, and you took me on a walk and you held my hand. And I think
in the first hour.
Even tried to kiss me in the first 10 minutes.
I did, and you rejected me. I remember that.
I was like, we just literally met 10 minutes ago.
I'm like,
no, we took a walk to the park down the block. And it was just instant. Yeah, I was instantly under your spell.
Wow.
And I remember the next day I was leaving for our annual summer trip. And I think this was the first year my parents booked like a 2-week trip instead of a 1-week trip. And
I remember
like,
you went
oh
to Cape Cod. Yeah.
We were going to Cape Cod, our annual summer vacation. And I was like, why 2 weeks? This is the year. I just met this guy. Like, I don't want to be gone for 2 weeks. And I think that was actually like the spark of our deep rooted connection, because we had cell phones, but it wasn't like today. We didn't have any social media.
Right.
We were emailing each other every day.
That's right.
That? So we were actually writing like paragraphs to each other every day. And we had only met once in person. So for those 2 weeks, we formed this like deep bond already so early in our relationship. And then the rest is history.
Wow. Well, I felt like, just to give some context for those who are, new to us, it was interesting because when I was 15, I was just looking for another hookup, right? But there was something about you, like there was a level of class that you carried, and when I went to go kiss you on the first
10
blind
minutes
date,
in.
10 minutes. I think it was 15. Like, it wasn't 10. I wasn't that desperate.
I'll give you 15. Okay.
But when I went to go kiss you, you're like, mm-mm. And I was like, ooh, this girl has values and she knows her worth. Like, subconsciously, I was like, okay, like I respected that about you. And so for those of you who are looking for, a true love, just
don't kiss in the first 15
just try to protect yourself before you wreck yourself, right? So, but I think that's a good point, because we actually, I think my affection or love for you started growing because of how we were communicating.
Yeah.
It almost felt like very old school.
It was.
And again, this was before like social media went crazy.
I was trying to remember, did I even have a cell phone? But I believe I had a BlackBerry.
Yeah.
And I would email you on my BlackBerry every day.
And then it was like 2 weeks later, I just asked you out.
Yeah, well, yeah. Then we finally got to see each other in person again.
2003. Wow.
And a fun fact, actually, I have to add. Fun fact of the day we met, you carved our initials in a park bench.
That's right.
And that was there for like over a decade. I still have a photo of that. My cousin gifted me that. That was a beautiful gift. But yeah, you were like ready to go. You were locking me in on day one.
But there was a problem. There was a problem that we had, because although I was head over heels for you and in love with you, I think after about a year into our relationship, I grew up in a Muslim background, and during my early teens, it was like my rebellious years. And for those of you who don't know, I used to do Taekwondo at a mosque. And so I would train and then I kind of like rebelled, and I went out of that world, and I met a guy, or I met my old friend, I should say. And he was like, what's new? And I was like, man, I'm dating this girl. I love her. She's amazing. He's like, bro, you're going to go to hell. I was like, what? He's like, no, you're gonna burn. You're not supposed to be dating. And I'm like, oh my God. So I got so scared. And it run deep, because I was born in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, which was like the holy land for Muslims all around the world. And my dad was a very religious person. And even me dating you, I had to like walk on eggshells. I couldn't let people know. Like my friends could know, like that's it. But I couldn't let my father know. And that's when I was like, all right, like if I'm going to do things right, I have to get back to the religion. And then you and I, we kind of had in our late teen years, we would go back and forth, because you grew up Christian, Protestant, and then I grew up Muslim, and I was trying to convert you to Islam. Like, I think it's very important for people to know early on the differences in our culture.
We had a few battles with the Bible out.
So what, I'm curious from your perspective, because I always tell my side of the story, but I want to hear your side of the story, right? We met each other early on. We were head over heels for each other, but obviously there was this cultural and religious barrier. And what normally I would assume what people would do is like, okay, because of our differences, there's no way we can fight for our love together. Like, what was going through your mind at that time when I was like, hey, I can't, and you're like, okay, well then teach me your ways?
Yes. So I was, as you said, I was raised Christian. And I do recall those early days of getting into religious conversations with you. And I instinctively remember having a few arguments with you as well.
A few, yeah.
But it was just a world I had never ever considered before or ever thought deep of before. To be honest, I was completely ignorant to the Muslim faith. I didn't really know what it stood for, what it was about. I didn't know what you believed. I didn't know what you worshipped. It was very foreign to me. So I think I just saw it as an opportunity to hear you out and like let you explain to me what it was that you believed.
Yeah.
And it led me to this place of, okay, this makes sense. You know, Islam came after Christianity. It's what I was listening to, what I was hearing from you. And so I just tried to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how, because I knew I wasn't going to convert, or, you know, my family wouldn't want me to do that. So I just thought, okay, let me just hear him out. Let me try to understand you. Let me try to understand why you're so passionate about this. Why is your family so convinced? So I just like to say I kept an open mind. I didn't ever think of we're not going to work because of this. It never really crossed my mind.
I think that was the moment where I humbled myself, because I realized, after going back and forth through multiple arguments, and this wasn't like a 1 week thing. This was like months of us on the call.
Pretty much the first year.
Yeah, exactly. And I realized it took a stronger person to be more loving than right. Your level of open-mindedness and understanding was foreign to me, because I grew up in a culture that needed to be right. It was this, that. And I perceived it as your love for me and your level of understanding that opened up my heart. And that was a moment where I was like, well, if I grew up at a different time, in a different faith, with different parents and a different religion, would I be as convicted?
I felt the same way.
That's when you and we agreed to fight for our love together despite our differences. And
absolutely. I think the mindset for me, sorry to cut you off.
No,
I think the mindset for me was like, okay, I'm going to marry this man either way. And if we have to celebrate 2 holidays every year, we're going to celebrate 2 holidays. We're going to raise our kids with 2 religions. That was just the way I thought.
The grace of Kate. Come on. Listen, that's a mindset in and of itself, because I feel like with you put love in front and center, while I was trying to be right the whole time. And that was a shift. So I want to acknowledge you for that. I've told you many times that there is something about you that was different, and it's you have a capacity to see beyond the present moment and fight for that future.
Thank you.
You know, so there would be no Yahya today, and there would be no the Bakkar family if it wasn't for that sacrifice that you made in the very beginning.
Thank you.
So obviously, you know, one of the big themes, like during, I remember we started to date again despite the religious differences. And
we battled daily on certain topics, but we never really let that come between us.
Exactly. But then I found out my stepmom was like, hey, we have to go to Arizona. We were growing up in Jersey at the time.
Yeah.
And then we had to make another decision. Do we stay together? Because we're young, you know, I mean.
You're moving to Arizona. Yes, he was moving to Arizona. And it was on our 2-year anniversary.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, August 12th is the day that we fly out. And I was like, that's our anniversary.
Wait, it was on our 2-year anniversary that we flew out?
You left on August 12th, 2005 to
no
move to Arizona.
Way. Wow,
that's crazy. Talk about a gut punch, women,
that's
ladies.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So I left, but we had to make a decision. Do we just break up?
That was never happening in my mind.
Or do we fight for our love together? And so, long story even longer.
Well, we're here. We know what happened now.
We ended up doing 5 years long distance.
Yep.
So I want to hear your side, because I know my side, but like, what was that like for you, and why was it so easy for you to be like, okay, we're going to do this no matter what?
It definitely wasn't easy, but I think I was so head over heels in love that I was not going to let you go easily. And I didn't know what it was going to look like. I said, okay, you know, we've done this before. We talk on the phone every day. There's no, you know, we'll visit each other. We'll find a way to visit each other. Meanwhile, we were literally 17 and 18, I think, still in school. Yeah, I just put one foot in front of the other every day. I woke up and I said, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to look like the crazy one who's got a boyfriend all the way across the country. But I was willing to do that. I was willing to do that for you, babe.
Which is, by the way, very rare at that time. And I would argue that it's even rarer these days. especially in like the social media world where everybody wants.
Thank God we didn't have to deal with that.
So what would you say to someone, maybe they're in their late teens or maybe their early 20s and they're looking for love, but they feel like they can't find anyone like that? You know, they don't make them like they used to, you know, like that. There aren't guys like that, but I would argue that there are people like that.
Again, every relationship is different, and I am grateful that we don't have to live in a world like we have today. It would have been, I think, a lot harder. But the biggest thing that I can think that was, you know, a non-negotiable for me was like, I found the love of my life. I feel like you're the love of my life, and I feel this connection to you. I'm envisioning my future with you, and I'm just not going to give up. Like, there'll have to be so many things that'll come in my way to make me give up. So I think my biggest, you know, word of advice would be if you found someone, or if you know someone who, you know, it's cheesy, but if they take your breath away, if you know, can't imagine a world without them, then it's worth it, because anything is possible. Anything is possible.
If you got a keeper, you keep her. All right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That was definitely my most challenging chapter, though, was dealing with long distance.
Yeah, I feel like for me,
in high school, and that was just the worst time.
For me, it was learning to love you outside of physical intimacy that helped me gain some form of maturity at an early age.
Definitely.
Right? Because a lot of people confuse physical intimacy with love. And, you know, you can have all the physical intimacy that you want, but if you don't have the character or the communication or the connection or the chemistry to make it work, without that, it's going to be very difficult to sustain it. So in a way, it was a blessing in disguise to learn how to love each other.
We almost did it backwards.
Yeah.
You know, we did it in our younger years.
I felt like I was married to you when we were in long, like we were technically married, even though we didn't label it.
Definitely felt that way.
Yeah. And so, you know, putting myself in Kate's shoes, okay? I know we're at the Yahya Show, but this is not about me, this is about you. What was it like you being in the passenger seat of, you know, it's not easy to be with a guy like me, especially during the 20s, where for me, the 20s was a journey of self-discovery. I was trying to figure out who I was. I went through different spiritual, you know, beliefs and schools of tradition and everything like that. So I was on a journey of self-discovery. I felt like in my after my teenage years, it was a journey of courage to stand on my own, but then my 20s was a journey of self-discovery. What was that like for you? Because you're like a pretty stable, grounded, you know, foundational force. Yes. And I'm like this kite flying in the wind, no pun intended, in the sky, right? I'm like a kite flying in the wind, but you've been my anchor, right? What was that like for you, seeing me grow through what I had to go through to get to where I am today?
It's definitely been a journey, and it's been an adventure. I think that's a better word for it. But how I've done it, is that the question? How I've done it is really because I've never given up faith in you.
Yeah.
I've seen you go through so many different trials and tribulations, from your family life to, you know, you found your birth mom on national television. I've been through so many incredible, monumental moments, and I've always seen you shine, no matter what situation you've been put in. So I think from an early age, the young years, first of all, just your charismatic character, your drive, your enthusiasm.
What?
It's just like I couldn't break away from that force.
Yeah.
So it's just like wanting to be around that, wanting to see you perform in whatever it was, whatever area it was.
Yeah. That
was what was fueling me to stick by you. And then after seeing you overcome things and just everything getting thrown at you, literally, I think your story is one of, you know, for people who are built for greatness, because how could you overcome so many things? But actually witnessing you, you know, overcome so many things and stand back up and stand back up and stand back up.
So what did you witness me overcome over the years specifically?
So for starters, it was the battle of our love with the cultural differences. And, you know, I think after your father realized I wasn't really going anywhere and this was serious, obviously he gave you an ultimatum and you still ultimately chose to be with me.
Yeah.
And then it was you dropping out of college despite knowing that your father wanted you to become a doctor. You know, had almost completed undergrad and you were one semester shy.
Yep.
And you dropped out with a full scholarship, I believe.
It was a 4.0 GPA. I let go of the scholarship to go to the meditation school.
Oh, yes. That one. Yeah. You know, and obviously disappointing your father, but still choosing your own path. And then ultimately him disowning you when you proposed to me. I think that was something that, how could I, you know, this man literally is giving up everything for our love. You know, I think especially growing up in the culture you grew up with, you know, to make your father proud is number one goal. It's like, right?
Yeah.
Or top 2, top 3. So I know that was very hard for you. And then obviously, you know, you had this journey of finding your birth mother. And oh my God, that was such an incredible trip to witness you, not only on TV, but to see your mom and to actually hug her and meet your whole family who looked just like you.
I know.
For the first time, because growing up with your family, you know, you always felt like, I don't really look like these people. Who do I? I look Asian, but I'm raised by Arabs. So where do I belong?
Yeah.
That was an incredible, you know, moment in your life at 25 years old. What a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Some people never get that chance. That was huge.
That's true.
And then obviously just all these different endeavors, every different business venture you've taken, your ever changing desire for growth.
I blame it on God.
Well, now we can say it's been God. You didn't know all along, right?
Yeah.
But you've always been one to follow your heart, to do what you felt called to do. And it's just been so inspiring. And I've just been honored to be a witness and a support.
Well, I love you for that. And I may get a little emotional because I feel like I wouldn't have been able to grow through those. It's different when I hear from you. I wouldn't have been able to grow through those moments without someone as grounded and convicted as you in my life at that time. Because I feel like someone with the cards that I've been dealt with, it could have been, you know, a different trajectory. And I say this now, and we'll get to that point, but I feel like you were the blessing and the gift that God sent me when I didn't know him, to preserve me, to protect me, and for favor to come onto my life. And I couldn't have done anything, or I couldn't have grown through those seasons without you. And this is why I say, like, there would be no Yahya without Kate. And I'm very honored and excited to have you on here as a first guest for the Yahya Show, because I want people to know that what makes a person isn't so much who they are, but who's around them, who's supporting them behind the scenes. And sometimes those people, they don't get the spotlight that they deserve, you know? And for you, I just want to, can we give it up? If you're listening, can we give it up for Kate? Because now you're seeing the power, the grace, the favor that Kate carries. It takes a lot of strength to be someone who can support somebody else, but at the same time not compromise her truth and her integrity. And I think that's something, you know, there's a saying in certain groups, they say, you know, the man is, you know, the head and the woman is the rib, right? Or like you have to be behind. And I feel like you've never been behind me, you've been beside me. Like even your rib, right? If we're going to Adam and Eve, right? Eve was made out of the rib. Some people feel like, oh, well, that means I'm less. No, because if anybody ever fought and they get punched in the rib, they have a very difficult time breathing.
Take your breath away.
It takes your breath away in a bad way because there's no way you can survive through a broken rib. But the rib is the only bone that regrows. You see what I'm saying? And so like you've been my rib because you were protecting my most vital organs, my vulnerabilities, right, throughout the whole thing. So I appreciate that about you, and hopefully that's a lesson of encouragement for anyone who's growing through a season of chaos or a storm or whatever that looks like. So coming back at 25, you witnessed my dad disowned me because of religious differences, because I said yes to our love and I wanted to get married. And it was also a coming of age because I finally, took the mask off. I was sick and tired of pretending to be someone that I'm not, just to walk on eggshells to win someone's approval. And that someone was my dad, because I was under his shadow. And then I just reunited with my birth mother on national television in Thailand, right? And that was a big deal because for me, it was like, who am I? Where do I belong? And now I got it, right? Yeah. And without diving into the details, all of that fell apart within a year.
Yep. And
I had to go back into the foundation. And that was like, I feel like between 25 to like 30, we got married.
Yeah.
It was a new season in our lives that we're like, okay, like we have each other. But my fear was I didn't want the trauma and the drama of my family upbringing, or the lack thereof, to be transferred into what we're creating. So during that season, I started diving into therapy and healing. You remember that?
Yeah.
What was that like for you, witnessing like me investing in all this, personal growth and healing and therapy?
Well, let me just start by saying that since you were 15 years old, you've been extremely emotionally mature. Mm-hmm. And you've always had a way of getting to the root cause of a situation. And I actually can recall you being on the phone or surrounded by my young friends, and you were literally solving drama within the group. You knew, you were like, there's something deeper here. You've always been very keen on understanding emotional maturity and what actually is going on. So, just to see you invest and want to invest in, therapy or, healing inner trauma, healing emotional wounds, 100%. I felt like you were meant to do something in that capacity anyway. Mm-hmm. So, we went to the Tony Robbins seminar together.
I remember Date with Destiny.
Oh my God, you've done. Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah,
you've invested in lots of masterminds, and you've only exceeded and grown and been able to communicate that much better because of the things that you chose to do. So it was never a hard choice to support that.
Amen.
Seeing, what you could do for other people. And then you created a YouTube show and you were helping people at a young age. I think how old were you, your first YouTube channel?
It was way back before it got deplatformed. Oh. We'll get to that soon. We're not there yet. But it was 2000. I think it was 2013, 2014. It was like right around the year we got married.
Yeah, you just always had a way with words. You've always had a way with helping people. You've always had a great way of guiding people, mentoring people. I guess that's a good word. Leadership. You've been great with leadership. So I just supported any.
You've heard it from the wife. Okay. Question for you. Mm-hmm. Question for you. When did you know that we were ready to start a family? In the midst of all the storms and the chaos, like, how did you know? When did you know?
Yeah, I think we were married 3 years. Mm-hmm. And we were in our little 600 square foot apartment, garden apartment. And you had just really kicked off with entrepreneurship. You were doing I think a little bit of coaching for somebody.
Yeah, I shifted into speaking. I did speaking from 2011 to 2017.
Yeah, you had been traveling and speaking, and I knew that, okay, this isn't the time. I'm going to need you around. So you were traveling a lot, being a speaker, and it was at the time that you shifted into
coaching, consulting,
and being more online. Yep. And your Instagram had grown, and you were doing.
I was doing a video a day challenge on Instagram to build the brand.
And I said, okay, this feels good. This feels right. He's home. Mm-hmm. we have the stability. We don't need to travel. I don't need to worry about, a busy schedule. You could make your own hours. That was when I said, okay, we've been married 3 years. I knew I wanted to be a younger mom, younger, but so that was the perfect time in my opinion.
And I'm getting a little hot for this. So
oh,
1 second, it's about to get serious when you start taking it off. Boom, boom. I'm just kidding. Okay, so we had our first daughter, Precious Kaya. I was 30, you were 29. Is that correct? It was a month before my 31st birthday. Yeah.
Yes.
And that was back in 2018.
Yes.
So this is kind of weird because I'm trying to empathize with the people who are listening to this, because we have 3 versions of us. We have, the crazy in love teenage version of us, and then we have the 20s, the young adult version, which is like we're discovering who we are, but we're also entering this new dynamic where we have to choose each other as husband and wife, and what does that look like? So there's this journey of becoming from a boy into a man, from a girl into a woman and a wife and a husband. And then now we're entering this phase of being parents. I remember getting all the books that I could, and to be like, okay, I'm gonna be the best dad. Whatever happened, like, and at that time, my dream was to be the father that I didn't have, and to build a family that I never had, right? And you came from a pretty strong, stable, family, and so that to me was like, that was an example for what I wanted to emulate for us. And so I don't know why I'm getting so excited. So. What was it like when we had our first precious daughter, Kaya? Were you ready? Was it what you expected? Was it harder than you expected? And what would you say to people who are like new parents or thinking about having a kid?
Yeah, first of all, having a child is a huge undertaking, but it's also the most precious gift ever. And there is that love that you've never experienced before that everybody talks about. And that's, at least for me, was very, very true. It's something you can't ever put into words. It's literally your heart outside of your body. You're witnessing your little creation that you made out of love, looking back at you, giggling at you, crying. Yeah. There's definitely some stressful moments, but if I had to summarize it, it's incredible. For me, it was I think more challenging than I initially anticipated, only because trying to find a flow with you as an entrepreneur, it was like, okay, what does that look like in the house specifically?
Right.
Like, what does it look like hour per hour? The little minute details of like, okay, are you going to watch her while I shower? Those kinds of things you don't really think about, I guess, before.
No book can prepare you for that.
Right. That's the stuff that can only come from actually living it and doing it and figuring it out. But there is no book out there, by the way, for all the potential future mothers or fathers. There really is no book that can prepare you. You can have a great idea, a great list of recommendations,
great intentions.
Correct. But every child is different. Every baby is different. Every phase of babyhood, from infant to toddler, it's ever evolving. And I think that the biggest thing that I've learned is that we need to evolve as the child evolves, and to just give yourself grace, give yourself patience. That was something I wasn't good at. I wasn't good at giving myself grace. I'm a very detail-oriented type A, it has to be this way. And that was like blown up in my face with the baby. It was like, yeah. So was you think you have a schedule?
Was it like your need to let go of control and having everything organized?
Yeah, having everything organized, and also the fear of reaching out for help and wanting to not look like you needed help and you have it all together. And
talk more about that. Like what? Because I can almost imagine a form of identity crisis that someone has when they become a mother, and now it's like, well.
Yeah, there's a portion of that is, of course, you're never going to be the same person that you once were. You can't go back to before motherhood. There's just the old you, although there's a portion of her there, so much of that changes.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is a portion of it that is, okay, this is the new life that I'm stepping into. And there's so many unknowns. And there's a level of trust there. And like I said, grace. You have to just be willing to forgive yourself. And I do think that that's harder than it might seem, especially when you do have this vision in your mind of what you want to look like as a mom. And then of course there's social pressure. There's videos every day on Instagram or TikTok of what other people's babies are doing, and you know what products they have and what brand this, and it can get crazy. Yeah. But I think the best thing is just to stay true to yourself, to follow your gut, go with what's best for you and your family. And like I said, give yourself some grace. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I think the twins did that for us. Let's talk about that. So we're 18 months in. We have our first child. We're doing our thing, and then 2019, we find out that you're not just pregnant, but you're pregnant with twins. Yeah, that was a fun day. That was the day, by the way. That was the day that we put a bid on a home in Miami Gardens.
Oh, that's right. So we're at Jersey at the time. So coming back, we're at Jersey at the time. We were already thinking about
moving to Florida,
coming down to Florida.
Lifelong dream.
And by the way, Boca Raton, we're at headquarters here. So
shout out to Boca.
Shout out to Boca. But we were already, there's a saying, like, if you want to make God laugh, just tell him your plans.
Well, that's what happened.
God did. And so he came in, and then we went, I remember us going to.
We were about to sign a lease, I think.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It was that close.
And then we went
to the sonogram because we knew we were pregnant from the pregnancy test, but we were like, let's just, we haven't told our parents yet.
We haven't. It was going to be a surprise.
It was so early on. It was like the 8-week appointment that you go in and you get to see the baby.
Yeah. What did the doctor say?
It wasn't one baby. Oh my God. I literally recall, and this is not a joke. We brought Kaya with us too, right? I think Kaya was with us. Yeah.
Yes.
The parents didn't know.
Yes.
And he was like, wouldn't it be funny if it was twins? And then
that's exactly it. It wouldn't be funny if it was
literally
twins.
said that. And then, there's the screen, and instantly, now my mom's a nurse, so I've just, in general, I just, have seen lots of sonograms and pictures, and I knew my thing a little bit about twins and what it looks like when you're pregnant with twins. Yep. And there were 2 black circles.
Black circles.
2 with 2 little white moving.
And me, I'm like, why do I see 2? And
it was like you were externalizing the thought process, and I was internalizing it, because I was like, that's 2 babies. And you were like, is that what? And I was just like, shh, don't say it. And he was like, the doctor's like, hold on a minute now. And I think he started looking for a third at that moment. That's what he was doing. He just didn't say it, but he was looking for a third. And it was like, well, guys, I do believe we have twins here.
Yep. Be fruitful and multiply. No pun intended.
Yeah, that's what happened.
What was your initial reaction? Like, honestly, right? Like, let's keep it real.
I cried all day. I'm not afraid to say it. I cried all day. And again, I can say this to women. You have this vision in your mind, right? Well, I had been this confident woman who was now a mother of a toddler, and I had this plan that, oh my God, this is going to be great. I'm going to have a baby close in age like I've always wanted, but it's going to be manageable. I'm going to get the double stroller. I'm still going to go to the park. I'll be able to push Kaya in the swing while I rock the baby in the stroller. This whole vision. And it just came crashing down. It was like, I'm never leaving the house by myself.
Yeah, you see, what was interesting, my initial reaction was like, oh my God. Like, I feel like I hit the jackpot. But your reaction, and for those I'm sure there are people who'd be like, well, why would she be upset? Like, what?
And let me just state the record. I've always wanted 3 children close in age.
Yeah, we knew in high school we were going to have 3 children.
We always wanted 3 kids. Yeah. I wanted at least 1 boy, 1 girl, but I always wanted 3 kids. So yeah, it wasn't like, my dream is over. It was just the format in which it was being delivered to me.
I feel like you felt like we were just about to encounter triplets, because Kaya was still,
one,
like, when the twins were born.
She wasn't quite 2 when they were born.
She wasn't she was 18 months.
So I was just processing everything. I said, oh my God, twin pregnancy, that's high risk. What if I'm on bed rest? What if I can't? All the fears that naturally come up.
I just want to take a commercial break and give a shout out to every mother that's out there that's tuning in to the Yahya Show. Make sure you share this with all your moms or soon to be moms, because they're going to need to hear this. And obviously, Kate and I, we don't stand here being perfect, because we're not perfect by any means, right? But my goal and my intention having you here is just to be transparent and share a message of hope for people who feel like they're losing hope or they feel like they're struggling. Because most people in this day and age, we always compare according to the highlight reel that we see on social media. Right. And so I'm sure there are some people like, oh, well, good for you, 21 years. Wow, your life must be perfect. But behind closed doors, we struggled. There was a lot of challenges, going through, okay, well, how do we handle, twins? Like, even just the idea, I'll speak for myself, right? Like when we had Kaya, like you had it down pat, right? Yeah. Like I'm chilling. If she wants to sleep on my chest, she can sleep on my chest. Like I'm relaxed.
She was the best sleeper.
She was the best.
Made it so easy.
But then when we had Taj and Amira, right? It's like, it was like 3 times the work, right?
3 kids in diapers.
And that was hard because there was no preparation for that. Like I remember trying to go through like the books. I'm like, where does it prepare you to change 3 diapers in 1 second when you're kids? They want your attention now. And how do you navigate the boundaries? Like, let alone, like I'll speak for myself. In a lot of ways, I wasn't prepared because I don't feel like I had the maturity or the capacity as a father to handle the number one, just the physical needs and the emotional needs of a kid. Yeah. Trying to just change the diapers or when they're throwing up, and you're not prepared for that. Right. So it's like putting out fires as a parent early on, which is not easy. And then you're expected to go out into the world or in business if you're an entrepreneur and everything is okay.
Yeah, you were still doing, you were creating a new business at the exact same time.
Yeah.
But I will say you did an incredible job. And you've always made me calmer. You've always put out fires that I don't think just by being your goofy self and
you're sweet.
Your go with the flow, personality really helped level me out. Because there were many moments that I was on the verge.
I don't think I would have been able to change that many diapers if it wasn't for you.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not easy being a mom. So for those of you who are tuning in and you feel like you're the worst parent ever, you're not.
You're doing an amazing job.
You're doing a great job. And I almost feel like parents are like, in a way, they're adult children.
Oh yeah, we're totally growing up while we're raising our kids.
Yeah, we're learning.
We're totally, your first child, you're growing up, you're learning everything for the first time.
And your children have a certain way of bringing out the worst and the best in you, right? Like there's a saying by a guy named Ram Dass when I was in my spiritual, discovery days. He would say, if you think you're enlightened, go spend a week with your family.
It's true.
I would say go have a big family, and then you'll see what's going on.
But to encourage, leave us on an encouraging note, like have all the kids. Don't be afraid. Don't think that there is a certain time in life that's best. Don't. That's a lie that you've been told, that you've been fed. That's not true. And yeah, your worst fears, they're going to come to life, but you're going to overcome them and you're going to grow. And it's incredible to see your little child smiling at you, laughing at you, doing things that you do and doing things that you didn't know they could do and repeating things that you say and having your mannerisms. There's just no greater joy than witnessing that. So don't hold back.
Amen.
Have as many kids as you can.
So are we done?
We're done. No, on that note. Not over here. Not you.
We're done with 3. That's what she's saying. So real quick, is it okay? Do I have permission to go a little deeper when we had the twins?
Yeah.
Okay. So our twins, Taj and Amira, beautiful. It feels like we have the United Nations in one family, right?
Really, none of them look alike.
If you see the picture, like my son, blonde hair, blue eyes. My Amira looks like a Thai princess, and the background is unique because I come from the Middle Eastern and Thai background. You're Dutch and Italian.
We got it all.
My son looks Dutch, right? He looks like your father. Mm-hmm. Fun fact for those of you who don't know, when I first met Kate, and I pulled up in her driveway, she introduces me
on a motor scooter.
I was on a motor scooter. I thought I was the coolest dude on the block.
I didn't know that they could go that far.
Yeah, it was impressive, and I was impressed by myself. So I pulled up, and then your dad was there. So who's this guy in the drug? Can you share that story? Like who's the guy?
I mean, well, first of all, let me just start off by saying you were like so preppy the first day I met you. You were in Armani Exchange head to toe. I think actually you had Diesel sneakers on. Then comes the day, this like the third time I've ever seen you. You roll up and you're.
I was
completely thugged out
with fake Gucci shoes.
It was I'm like, what? You had on the baggy shorts, high top sneakers. You were a jersey. You were a completely different person, and I was like, what?
Your dad was like, who's this thug? That's outside, and you know he's like, oh, his name is Yahya. Yahya, where's that from? Oh, he's Arabic. He's like, what? You're dating an Arabic guy? And
he loves you.
He loves me, but this is what he said. He was like, he's like, what are you dating there? She's like, yeah. And then he said some joke, and I was like, hey, dude, I know where you live. You don't want to say that, right? But then we became best friends, and then we find out that we have the same exact birthday. Your dad and me had the same birthday, April 15th.
Steve. For
those of you who want to send gifts, we receive it. So anyway, I just wanted to share that fun fact. That was totally a Yahya moment. Yeah. I just went on it. But coming back full circle, we had our twins, and it was January of 2020.
Yep.
Okay.
How deep we going?
Oh, we going deep. We going deep. Can we go deep? Can we go deeper? Okay. We're going deep. So obviously the twins were born, and then anybody who's been alive during 2020, we realized there was a big shift in the world, okay? And for me, because I just had the twins, what came alive in me was this father. Like, I became very protective of our kids' future. And like, I was concerned about what was happening in the world. And we don't have to go into specific details or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like, what was, with everything that was going on in the world, and we just had these twins, what was your perspective of what you were growing through in that moment?
I mean, I think it's safe to say that half the world was thinking what I was thinking.
What were you thinking?
What is going on? What's really going on? Mm-hmm. It was scary. It was definitely scary. In hindsight, looking back, I say that I was grateful that the world shut down when I had 3 under 2 at home, because it allowed us that time together.
Yeah.
And, you know, we were able to have each other to get through those first few months that were hard. But ultimately, I was scared. I was scared about the future for the kids. Mm-hmm. I was scared about where we were living and what rules were being put in place. Mm-hmm. I was definitely unsure of how the world was going to shift. But I was also grateful because you had been at a time where you could help people work online.
Yep.
So that was convenient that you were able to still work. It
was great for
because you had just
online world. Yeah.
started teaching people how to transition their businesses online. Mm-hmm. So you were still busy. Mm-hmm. But I think it was time for us to think about, okay, we're going to revisit this move to Florida and figure out what's best for our family, because we didn't want to be in an area with certain rules, if that makes sense, without going.
We're saying something without saying something. So
it was a scary time, but
eyes to see, those who have ears to hear. So another fun fact, I think it was November 2020, I had the dream or the vision, and I saw us coming down to Florida, retiring your parents and bringing them down, the family down. And then I had another vision of this huge like estate or home in Florida. Yeah. And I remember waking up telling you this vision of like, honey, we have to go to Florida. And within like what, 2-3 months?
It happened really fast.
Yeah. It was when the market was crazy. Yeah. Everybody was
There was no inventory.
Yeah.
We saw a house through FaceTime call, and we sent the wire, and boom, we were on our way.
Yeah.
With 3 under 3.
Yeah.
At that time.
It was intense, but it was also exciting.
Yeah. Very
because
exciting.
I felt like we were beginning something new.
Yes.
And not only were we beginning something new physically and, shifting our location, but there was something going on spiritually behind the scenes that I didn't even know was happening. And so I almost felt like 2020 was the year of the wake-up call.
For a lot of people.
For a lot of people. And, you know, back in 2020, I didn't have a huge following or anything like that. Didn't care about that kind of stuff. But I used the influence and the platform that I had to be very outspoken about what I believed was going on in the world before it became trendy, before it became a thing, to be outspoken. And because I did that, I got deplatformed. There were people who didn't like what I had to say. And you've known me for over 2 decades. I've always been unapologetically self-expressed, regardless of what season I was in.
Yeah.
Right. I'm all in for the calling.
Yeah.
So there was that phase that shifted there. And I did not like where the world was going. I even got jaded by the whole online world, because anything you could have said could be used against you. You know, like people could twist and manipulate to fit their own narrative, and you got to see people's true colors or where they stood.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people say that on both sides.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
But I almost felt like it was a journey of becoming. And not only did, you know, we were growing to becoming husband and wife, but also a father and a mother for our kids.
Right.
But then there was something else that was birthing inside of me. And I didn't understand it at that time. I was seeing things and I was confused of like, why isn't everybody else seeing the same exact thing that we're seeing? You know, and you felt very strongly about a certain topic. I don't know if you want to dive into that as a mother, but I'm sure there are women that would love to hear your perspective on something like that. And I think this is oh, she's smiling at me. That's that look, that smile's like, babe, I told you I don't want to go there. But listen, we can edit this out if you don't want to go there, okay? But like, please, because I feel like there are women rising in this next season, and they should not be afraid of being a powerful voice of what they believe in. And I feel like during 2020, you took a stand very powerfully in certain areas. And most people, they can see me with my strong personality, but they don't understand the force that's with me through you.
I said a couple of things.
I want to hear what you said. Do you guys want to hear? If you want to hear what you said, comment down below. I want to hear.
Okay, so a little backstory is, you know, I come from a household where my mother was a nurse, and we honor and respect the medical industry.
Come on.
And so never questioned doctors, never questioned authority like that, never questioned anything like that. Our daughter, when she was 6 months old, she had a seizure the night before Thanksgiving. Scariest night ever.
I remember that.
Ever.
Yep.
And if you are a parent and you have a child and you've ever seen them go through something where you've ever had to intubate them or go to a hospital and have them hooked up to machines, then you know the scariest thing ever. And that sparked a journey that I didn't ever think I would go on. But it led me down this path of becoming informed on vaccines and ingredients, because she had just had her 6 month shots. And so this was before major censorship. There was already some censorship, but there were forums that I was reading of mothers. And this is how I knew it was true. I got to see firsthand and read firsthand stories that were so similar to what I had experienced, what I had witnessed with my own eyes. And I believed these mothers. And I said, this is there's something here. There's an affiliation or a correlation to what I am thinking and what other mothers are thinking. And ironically enough, Robert Kennedy Jr. and his Children's Health Defense website was where I was able to obtain most information. So fast forward to 2020. Now remember, I had this hindsight. You had this experience. So
you're already doing your research.
And I was already, we were no longer doing vaccines. We were not vaccinating the twins.
This is before our twins, yeah.
Correct. Yep. So 2020 comes, and I don't know why. And again, I'm you know, could have just been a hunch, but I said to myself, I feel like this is going to lead to something. I feel like this virus is going to lead to something. And I know what people thought I was crazy, but I was like, I feel like there's going to be a vaccine for this. And I feel like it's going to be pushed. Well, lo and behold, you know, we know what happened. The rest is history. We know what came about. But I did choose to be vocal, and nothing crazy, but
in your own way.
I knew this is what, and like what you were trying to explain, I think before is like the move to Florida. What was it like? We were standing for the values of our family at that point. It wasn't just like we're living this life, we're living, as husband and wife, we have this family, we're going through the motions, but it was like at that point we're really also, it was another monumental moment for us to like, we're not putting up with this. Our kids are going to have an amazing life. I'm going to give my kids the freedom. They're going to get to go play outside. I'm not staying here. This is the time to move.
Yeah. And
that was, why I think a big push of why we finally did bite the bullet and come here, even with 3 little kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't too outspoken. I said a few things. I didn't want to offend anybody because I know that there are people who don't believe the same things as me, and I don't want to tell anybody what to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was like, okay, you do you. This is what's going to work for me. I'm not going to compromise my beliefs. It's time to, it was time for me to really see what was going on, in my opinion, and to remain true to my values. That's
good. And one of the things that I admire you for, and I think it's a strength and a skill that you have, boundaries.
Yeah.
Like it's boundaries lead to integrity, and you have a powerful way of saying no to certain things that will conflict or compromise your integrity in the process. And it was really cool to see you stand for something like so powerfully behind the scenes. And I'll be honest, like back then I knew about all the side effects of the vaccines and all of that, but I've never, like, it wasn't like a firm decision to say no,
right,
until you, as the mother of our children, said, no, we're not moving this direction.
And again, this specific situation is not relatable to every mother, but
Right.
there are mothers out there of children who have food allergies or who have chronic disease or are experiencing asthma or other symptoms of things that they would take just as firm a stand with, their own situations. And I feel like, I'm just a mother. I'm just a mother who was not going to witness my child endure another seizure. And I just did what any mother would do. I think any mother would do whatever was best to protect their kids. Right. And so in this situation, that was what was best for us. To say, no, we're not putting up with this. We're not participating.
She looks innocent, but she puts up a fight. That's my wife right there.
No.
Proud. I love it. So we moved down to Florida, and we have, it's an amazing
4
time.
years.
Yeah, it's almost 4 years now at the time of this recording, and we love it. And then I kind of like, I'm going through, this shift in identity, and I didn't know what was working through me. And again, not to get into details, maybe for another time, I have an encounter with Jesus Christ that
yes, you did.
Convicted me, like, and you were there to witness it. I don't know if because you weren't in my body, you didn't experience it, but it happened when you were in the bedroom, where I felt a touch on my heart, my back hit the wall, and I fell down to the ground crying like a baby. And I wasn't looking for him. It was nothing that...
You were looking for everything but...
I was looking for everything but Jesus, right? And that sparked a journey and a zeal to look for a father. And I didn't know at that time that Jesus was the way to the Father, and I don't want, this is for everybody. So I welcome all beliefs, all, walks of life. Doesn't matter. I'm just sharing my testimony. Okay. If you don't like it, you don't like what we say, you don't have to listen, but I'm telling you, it's going to get good. So you want to tune in for the future. But I had my transfer. I tell people I never converted to Christianity. I got transformed by Christ. There's a huge difference. When you have an encounter like that, there's no going back, even if you want to go back to normal. It's impossible. And you can't hide something or someone as big as the encounter or the impact that you have with something like that. So for me, when that happened, I was just like, boom, full mode Jesus freak. I became the type of person that I hated.
100%.
Like I hated people who Jesus, like, hey, can you just
shirts
keep
and
it?
all?
Yeah, like shirt. Like I'm just like I'm all in for the calling. If you take the word calling and you remove the C and the G, you get all in. And the C means choose and the G means God. So choose to go all in for God. Anyway, that's why there's the sky here. But Fruitful Father Ministries, shout out. So anyway, I went through that journey, and I'm bringing this because, again, you're the guest. I have my own transformation that I'm going through. And maybe one day we'll talk about how it actually happened and the way that it happened, because I remember telling you, hey, I just accepted Jesus into my life. And you know, your background is Christian, and we left our religions in a sense to fight for our love.
Right.
Right. And so when you heard this, like, what was your journey and your experience in that process?
Yeah, it was definitely interesting, to say the least. I've never been one to be, you know, I should say I got, what was it? I'm not baptized. I made my confirmation of faith when I was 12, and then our family kind of left the church. There was some church hurt. And so, you know, then I met you, and to be honest with you, you know, I was kind of like, all right, you know, God exists, but I don't know where. I don't know what we're all here for. And I really didn't have any interest exploring that.
Yeah.
I was kind of just like, you know what, be a good person, evolve, grow, become, you know, open-minded, love everybody. I didn't really care. I didn't have any interest. It wasn't something on top of my mind.
Right.
And then, yes, you have this encounter and you're all out for God. And I was just like, what is happening?
She thought I was going Kanye.
Kind of did. He kind of did go Kanye. You did go Kanye. And,
I went, yeah.
yeah, I just, again, but like anything else, like I wasn't going to compromise or fast forward anything for myself. It was kind of just what I've done. What do I do? I hold space for you. I'm supportive of whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
I'm here to listen, and maybe I'll have my own encounter again. But it was just, you know, how can I support him? There were moments of overwhelm for sure. Yeah. There's been a lot of things.
Like I keep thinking, I'm looking back, if I put myself in Kate's shoes, okay, like what is right or wrong with her to put up with a guy like Yahya? That's the thing. And I'm telling you, it's God's grace that we're still together, not just surviving, but thriving. And I think we're just in the beginning of something beautiful.
I think we're,
you know, and I will say, like, as much as, because, you know, I can be persuasive and intense in a lot of ways.
Definitely intense.
And were you saying I'm not persuasive? I got you to fall in love with me. Hey, got him. So, but like in my perspective, when I told you I didn't want to force or impose what was happening through me, in me.
Right.
And for me.
You never did.
For me, I wanted to give you what you gave me when I was a teenager, which is love. It takes a stronger person to be more loving than right. So this wasn't a path, like, and here's the thing, like, this is what's shocking to me. Like, God has a sense of humor, because if you would have told me prior to 2020, hey, you're going to be this, you're going to be a mentor, you're going to be mentoring these type of people, you're going to be a minister of the gospel, you're going to be doing this, I'm like, what? You crazy? Like, what are you talking about? Right? But here we are, you know, and we're doing it in this way. So obviously you've been very supportive and understanding my journey, and I never wanted to impose my beliefs on you, because I wanted to give back what you've given me in that journey. And maybe in the future there'll be a part 2. If you guys want to see a part 2 of the Mrs., my wife, the one and only, we can dive deeper into certain topics. In fact, tell us, like, what do you want?
This is fun. I would totally come back.
You would come back?
This is fun. Yeah.
Yes. But tell us, what do you want to hear? If there are any questions that you'd like to hear her answer, Kate answer, and maybe we'll do a part 2 of something like this. You know, I wanted to keep this well balanced with relationships and
we're
business, spirituality. I know it's a lot, but it's tough to put Yahya in a box.
It's true.
You know, and but like, I'm in this season where, you know, I feel like I've been called for a very specific assignment and a purpose, and there's a reason why why we went through what we went through all these years. It was almost like in preparation for what God has in store for the future, you know, and I'm excited to explore what that looks like. Just going to go in a slightly different direction. Based on our teen years, our 20s, and now our mid-30s.
Ooh, that's hard to say.
I'm okay with it.
Mid-30s.
I'm as old as I feel, and I feel alive. What do you love about our relationship, and how would you describe it?
If I had to put a word on it, it's definitely an adventure. Unexpected.
Amen.
Exciting.
Woo! Come on now.
Yeah, I'm most excited. I think, well, every stage of life has gotten us to this point, and I agree with you. And I have to say, there would be no Yahya and no Kate and us here in this moment at this studio unless you had gone through all the different chapters.
Yeah.
And I am so honored and blessed that I got to be a part of that, and that I got to have a front row seat and a huge behind the scenes look at the man who you've become through all of these endeavors. And just knowing that even through the hardest things, such amazing growth has come out. I'm just excited now more than ever. You're more aligned and happier than I've ever seen you in your whole life.
Wow. And
you've always been such a happy person. There's nowhere to go but up from here.
Amen.
And I'm so excited.
I stand in
I think the
agreement.
whole future is what I'm most excited about. And I'm so excited to give our kids an amazing life.
Come on.
Now that they're getting older and they can understand the world a little bit here and there, you know, some conversations that come up in the house, they're getting it. They're putting it together, and they're watching us.
Yeah.
And they're figuring us out, as people say. Like, they're going to figure you out. It's exciting to see them get to know who we really are and for them to comprehend it. And it's exciting to do things with them, and I'm just looking forward to so many amazing memories that we get to do together with them. That's what I'm most excited about.
I'm looking forward to growing old with you, but feeling young as ever.
Amen.
Looking back at our journeys, and I pray that God protects and preserves what He's already been preparing us for, and He'll use both of us mightily.
Yeah.
In Jesus' name.
Absolutely.
Amen. If you had one moment left in your life, and you had one message to share with those who are listening to you right now, what would you say?
That's a heavy one. I would say, and I'm still doing this, search for why you believe it is that you're here. Why are we here? What are we doing? Like, this isn't just for kicks and giggles.
Right.
We're not just here to, you know, indulge and post on social media and just get up every day and relive the same day. What are we here for? That's something I'm still searching for it, but I'm trying to really grasp the essence of that. And, you know, that's I feel like the biggest thing we can do is try to strive to understand what are we here for? What are we going to do with this life? We have one, so you got to make it count.
Amen. That's good.
Just-
That's good. That's good. I love it. And I feel like for you, if I may give you this feedback, you are already living your purpose, and it might not be as loud as others may be.
Yeah.
But there's power that comes in silence, and there's also a force that comes with a foundation or anchoring support.
Yeah.
And you've been that for me.
Yeah.
And if whether that continues or transforms into something completely different, I feel like I'm in this season in my life where I want to use myself, who's in the spotlight, to shine a light to those who've made me who I am today, whether that's you, whether that's my friends from high school, whether that's business partners that I've worked with, whether that's Jesus, you know, like I want to shine a light on those who they say, oh wow, yeah, I love your personality, or I love the. No, it's something else that's working, and you might not see in the forefront.
Right.
And I just feel like you're so powerful, and I love you for who you were, who you are, and who you're continuing to become.
Thank you, babe.
I
Likewise.
love you so much.
Likewise. And we would not be here, like I said, if you haven't said yes to every call that you've ever felt. That's what's led you to this amazing place. And I feel like you're the most in your purpose and on purpose than you've ever been before.
Wow.
And it's incredible to witness, and I'm excited. Whether that means I'm continuing to be the anchor, supporting you, which I feel like that is what I was put on this earth to do, or if it's transitioning out of the stay-at-home mom role into something greater, that's to be determined. But I'm excited. The future
I'm
looks
seeing
bright.
seminars, I'm seeing workshops, I'm seeing more podcast appearances. We need to hear from Mrs. Bakkar. Kate. So, guys, this is a wrap for the first episode of the Yahya Show. If you enjoyed this episode, please comment down below. Let us know what you liked about it. What could we have done better? What questions do you have maybe for the future guest appearance? Again, a part 2 of The Wife. I think I'm gonna call it The Wife, or the intro, Meet the Wife, right? But I'm excited that people get to see and witness you. Like, I was thinking about this when I was thinking about the, who am I gonna have on the first episode, and we're in conversation, and I was just like, I'm drinking, and then you were like, well, why don't I just speak?
I threw it out there, yeah.
Yeah, you threw it out, and I was like, oh my God, yes. There's anybody that I want, and I'm just letting everybody know for the record, if this is the last and final episode of the Yahya Show, it is enough. It is enough. It's a success, right? This is 21 years in the making, and I'm excited for what God has in store for our family and for so many people who are watching this as well, regardless of what season and stage you are in your life, whether you're a teenager, whether you're a young adult trying to discover who you are, or whether you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, right? It doesn't matter. I'm sure there's some form of hope and inspiration that you will gain from this show. Please share this. Share this with your friends, your family members. And if there's a future guest you'd like to see on the Yahya Show, who would maybe fly out in person to Boca Raton, Florida, and we do this, and I want to be very intentional about the type of guest that we have, right? I do believe God is raising an army of messengers, of leaders, of warriors, not in the traditional way, but in the marketplace and in the most random places, and he's just calling them. And so these are the type of people that I want to bring in. And Russell Brand, shout out to you. I'm going to make sure that we connect in some way, somehow. It's going to happen. For the record, I had this background before, I think, breaking with bread. I think that's the thing. So, but in the spirit, great minds think alike. So I love you all. I hope this was valuable. One more time, please let's give it up for my wife, the one and only Kate. I love you.
Thank you.
God bless you. It's a wrap. Hey! Wow.
Get back to the business. I feel the spirit moving through the city. I got the light shining, come get it. Walking with Christ, moving where it's gritty. Walking with Christ, moving where it's gritty. I feel the spirit moving through the city. I see the people trying to bring them with me. We got a light, tell them come and get it. Yeah. Walk, 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 walk. I walk, 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 walk. We walk.